Can you just tell us how you feel after a fight like that?
I feel very happy because I show for everybody around the world how tough guy I am. I beat Yoel Romero. For me, is one of the best fighters of the world. The most tough guy on this division after me now, of course. I beat him.
Can you tell me about that opening of the fight where you guys both dropped each other in the first minute? What was going through your mind and how that changed, your game plan and your approach to the fight?
My game plan was pressuring him all the time. I did this. In the second round, I feel he more tired, and I try to finish the fight. He poked the finger on my eye. My vision was like a blow, yeah, and I need to stop the fight. And I think he had that time to recover and come back with more gas to the fight. So I couldn't knock out him out. I feel his hand. It's funny because I punched his face. He hurt, and he points. He put the thing. Look this. I look, and when I look for him again, he pushed my face. Yes, I knock down and come back.
We know Rob has had to pull out of a few fights. If the UFC offered you a spot as a backup for that title fight, would you consider it?
No, absolutely no. I trained so hard to be a backup, I need to confirm the fight to do my camp. My camp is wild. Is a jungle wild, I bring 9 fighters to sparring with me. All guys go back to home with injuries because it's a wild training camp. I cannot be a, backup. I need to confirm that fight to make my camp.
What's your message to Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya if they see this? What's your message to them?
I think they both are looking to me scared, I think Whittaker will beat Adesanya. I beat Romero. For me, Romero won against Robert Whittaker. But if Adesanya won the belt, man, I can kill that guy. He's very skinny. He not have a chance against me. He's a personal with Adesanya. But
you spoke to us in the lead up to this fight that this is a very personal one with Yoel. I'm just wondering, is the beef squashed now?
Before the fight, I was very sad with Romero because he say shit about my name. He say I fail on USADA tests, but it's not true. I proved that. I never fail on USADA tests. But after the fight, I think all these things go to the best.
What is it that makes the Adesanya fight personal for you?
Yes, because Adesanya talk shit about me too. After my last fight against Rare Hall, he asked me to fight against him, and he say, I can't beat this. He say, I have dinosaur arms, so it's personal.
Start with DC. What have you talked to him, and what do you think? He looked like a really good fighter there for 3.5 rounds. What do you think his future is?
I don't know what the future is for Cormier. I told him, don't think about whether you want to fight again, you don't want to fight again, any of that stuff. Just relax, go home, spend some time with your family, and we'll talk about all that shit later.
I know, when you think that Nate, his 2 fights against Conor were among your biggest pay-per-view ever, and you heard this crowd tonight, it seemed like he was the main event. They were Diaz all night. Do you think that we have another, Rousey, McGregor level star with Nate Diaz, given the way people are reacting to him now?
Yeah, it's pretty tough to deny. He's a needle mover now.
Can you put your finger on what it is that moves the needle? Like, what do you think it is that people see in him that they?
I think it's stuff like I did the fighter meeting, and I specifically told him not to swear on ESPN. He looked right at me and said "motherfucker" right after when he was doing his interview on ESPN, and stuff like that. It's just, I read the headline. from one of the big papers that have written a story about this, and it said UFC needs an anti-hero, and here he is, Nate Diaz. You know,
I saw he went over to Colby, and you had talked to Colby beforehand. Did you warn Colby not to get into it with Nate?
No, what happened was everybody in that section was fighting with Colby. So security kept coming over to me 50 times saying, we got to get him out of there. And I said, no, everybody needs to start acting like fucking professionals because I don't have another seat in this entire building. Right. Every seat in this place is sold out. And right when I got there too, Masvidal was working his way down the line, and Holloway had moved out of his seat so Masvidal could come into his seat. You know, that fucking game that you play in kindergarten was going on over there when I went over there. So I asked those guys, listen to me. We got a big night going on here. We got a big fight. I don't need a fight breaking out over here with you knuckleheads. Stop it.
He came in, I think, 11.5 pounds lighter, the lightest he's ever been by far in the UFC. Did that make a difference in his quickness, and did you notice he was any faster than he was last time?
I didn't feel like he was faster. I really didn't. I think in some instances he maybe tired a little bit more, and I think tonight he may not have tired as much as he did prior when he was bigger. But he didn't feel faster. I still felt like I could see what he was throwing.
You had success in the first round with wrestling.
Yeah.
Nice slam, and you were in top control. Did you think about going back to that? Was that part of the strategy, or you didn't really go back to it?
That was the strategy. You know, that's probably the biggest letdown is how I let my coaches down. They were begging me to wrestle. And that's probably the most disappointing thing, is that I didn't do what I was trained to do, and I feel like I let my coaches down.
Was there any reason why you didn't go back to it just in the moment?
You know, I think when you start finding success and landing things, you just kind of fall in love with it. It feels like the Gustafsson fight all over again when I wrestled a lot in the first round, and then for the last 4 rounds I just didn't. And they were begging me to do it then, but tonight I actually paid the ultimate price for not listening to my coaches.
Kevin asked you about Stipe's side, but you were also significantly lighter in this fight than you were against Derek Lewis and you were against Stipe the first time. What was the strategy there?
Because I figured it would be a longer fight. I figured that he wasn't going anywhere. You know, I understand the motivation in a rematch, and I figured he was going to be there for the long run, which he was.
What was the biggest difference you think in Stipe's improvement this time around?
He's always been good, you know. I guess tonight's fight was the fight I expected the first time.
Was the game plan always to try to get him in the clinch up against the cage?
No, I planned it on kicking him in his face, but it just kind of went how it went. I didn't even work any of that clinch.
Dana was in here before, and he said that the last thing he thought you would say after the fight was calling out Jorge Masvidal. Why did you do that?
Just because you got to recognize who's the best of the best in this game, and it's not who they're saying it is, it's who I'm saying it is. Guys who've been in here for forever and now still on the top of the game, like Pettis just knocked out Thompson, who was just fighting for the 170 title a whole bunch of times, and then he fights Pettis. Pettis just knocks his ass out real quick. Who's the real baddest dude in the 170 division? And they were trying to pump up a dude, and then Masvidal goes in there and knocks his ass out after he's been in here since I started fighting in 2004, I think. I think he's either been there right then or a little longer, and he just did that. So, and I just did that. So there's a couple guys who come in and then they fight for a title, or peak in, have 3 good fights, they fight for a title, they get the belt, then they get their ass whipped, then they have another loss, maybe have another win and then another loss, and then they're gone with the win. That's not the best fighters to me. I've been here in 40 years, fighting, still killing. Remember, like, who was it? Like Jay Gellenberger was like peaking for a minute, and then he was the guy, and then he just got worked over, and then he had a couple fights, and he was just gone. And then, like Rick's story, and I can't even think of other examples, but there's a whole bunch of people. Grant Manor was one of the best guys for a minute, and he's just gone. Everybody's just here and gone, and here and gone. I'm like, what's up? I'm still here. Those are the best fighters in the world to me.
Colby Covington was over there. I don't know if you heard, but the crowd was chanting "Fuck you, Colby," and giving him a hard time. He was carrying a belt with him tonight. Would you consider fighting him at some point too?
Who's it?
Covington.
What weight?
Welterweight.
I don't know who that is. So, like, if we got somebody good to fight, that's who I want to fight. That's what I'm saying. If you've been here for 2 weeks and get a little hype show, I don't give a shit.
I want to start just by asking you about your weight. Everybody, I think, was shocked that you came in as light as you was. Was it because you wanted to get more quickness based on what you saw in the first fight?
Not at all. I have a child now, so I don't have a dad bod. So it's mostly just trying to keep my body in shape so I look good, you know, because I want to get a dad bod. No, honestly, with the whole weight thing, I was eating a ton of food. I was drinking water. I was training hard, and it's been a hot summer too. And so, but I mean, it just came off. I don't know. I mean, listen, I felt so efficient. I felt strong. I felt amazing. Just started off a little slow, but yeah, we're good.
You went to the body shots. Did the corner tell you that, or was that something instinctively that you saw?
I mean, it's something I saw. I actually talked to my coach earlier in the week about it. And I was like, man, I remember him always lifting his arms up when he throws punches or blocks punches. And I was like, you know what? I mean, no one really tests his body. I'm going to start going. And I remember when Anderson Silva fight at UFC 200, he caught him with a body shot and a kick. I'm like, you know what? It's a little weaker than I thought, you know. So, and I hit him with a couple of them, and I saw him wince.
When you were in the early part of the fight, you know, he was landing some shots. He had his hands down. Was that frustrating? Because I know you're a good boxer, and yet he's in there right in front of you with his hands at his side, and he's still landing on you.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. You know, a couple times. I don't know if he was. I feel like I was getting poked in the eye, but maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I just, I was a couple times. I'm like, God, is that a finger? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it was a knuckle. I mean, I wasn't trying to bitch about it, but it just, I don't know if it was, but you know, we overcame it, and
in the first round, Daniel picked you up and he got you in a slam.
Yeah, I thought I was up there for like an hour. What was that? I thought we were doing like WWE or something. It was weird.
It was weird, but also, you know, what does it feel like for you to be prone in that position? We've never seen you in that position.
It happens. I mean, listen, it's a fight, anything can happen, you know. And you know, he's giving me some good shots on the bottom, but I wasn't really worried. You know, I was smart about it. And like I said, I just started off slow in that first 2 rounds. It just wasn't me.
Where did you learn that celebration after the
dude, I honestly, it was getting a little old school. We watched it today, and I kind of franked the tank it. I just like had no idea what I was doing. I kind of just like lost. I don't know why I did it. I feel really dumb that I did it. And then I did like the sock. I don't know why. I feel like I didn't do something with my hands or my feet. I don't know. I'm an idiot. I'm dumb.
Is it like just adrenaline that takes over?
Yeah, I think adrenaline takes over. You know, I'm just like, I'm that guy at a party that does dumb stuff. You know, like, why would you do that? It was fun.
John mentioned you were the best heavyweight of all time. Is that a fight that interests you at some point?
You guys are killing me with these fights. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, I always say I'll fight anyone. Honestly, I'm not fighting anyone. No more who you fight next questions, though, okay? Please, I beg of you. I'm joking, you guys.
Hey, Steve, we're down over here. Right. Who do you want to fight next? No.
Listen, you're never coming to Fire Station again. You're out.